Welcome back to the Let's Work Club YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about training intensity. The main question I ask as a PT is, are you training hard enough? Are you putting enough into your sets, into your sessions? Every single set you do should leave you needing a rest. When you finish a set, if you can just stand up, walk away, put the weights down, go and have a conversation, you're probably not training hard enough. Every single set, every single working set you do should leave you needing a rest. A lot of people perceive failure as when it starts to get hard. When it starts to get hard is when the real work starts, and that's when your intensity really comes in. If you're not taking your sets all the way to failure with every single work set you do on every single body part, you're not training with enough intensity more often than not. Intensity can be learned. It is learned over years of training and training in the correct way. What I mean by correct way is your execution versus your load. So if you're not loading very heavily, your execution is very easy. If you are loading too heavy, your execution sometimes takes a hit. So you need to find that happy medium between proper execution and enough load to elicit a hypertrophic response, to elicit enough work to create change. This is where a lot of people go wrong. As soon as they're going to get a little bit of a breakdown in form, the weight comes back down, and that weight isn't challenging you. This is where I believe logbooking is really important, because it helps you look at what you've done last week, what you've done the week before that, and how you can progress properly. Some intensity techniques that I like to use as a PT are supersets, drop sets, rest pause sets, and something we like to call muscle rounds. So supersets can be done in a number of ways. So you can do for back, for example, you can do a pull variation and a row variation. So you can do a pull down followed by a row. You can also do opposite muscle groups. So if you wanted to do an arm superset, you can do a barbell bicep curl, followed by a tricep extension with minimal rest in between. A drop set is slightly different in you do the same movement but with less weight, so you take off 20 to 30% of the weight you've just been using and you do it again to failure. These just help us extend the sets and take things sometimes past the point of failure. This is where a hypertrophic response is going to be absolutely maximal. Thirdly is rest pause sets. So rest pause sets is something you don't see as much compared to supersets and drop sets, but it's something I like to use quite commonly with certain movements. The rest pause is where you carry on. So for example, a shoulder lateral raise, you're doing them with a certain weight, you get to failure, so where you can't do any more reps, you then rest for 10 to 15 seconds, and then you go again with the same weight to failure, then you rest again to failure. So you end up doing almost 3 sets in one and taking it past that point of failure just with that little bit of rest in between. Muscle rounds are fairly similar. So for example, if you were to do a leg press and you load the leg press up with something you can normally do for 10 straight reps, instead of doing 10 straight reps, do 4 sets of 4 with very minimal rest in between. For example, 10 seconds. So you do 4 reps, 10 seconds rest, 4 reps, 10 seconds rest, and then you've done 16 reps with something you normally do 10 reps with. These techniques are just used to extend the sets, get past failure, increase your intensity, increase how hard you're working, and this is where a hypertrophic response is going to be absolutely maximal. Another reason why a lot of people don't take sets to failure or train with too much intensity is a misconception of the RPE scale. The RPE scale is rate of perceived exertion, so a 10 out of 10 10 out of 10 RPE is where you can get no more reps. You are absolutely dusted. There's nothing left in there. And a lot of people perceive a 10 out of 10 when really it's maybe a 6, a 7 or an 8, and there is more reps there. The best way to improve in this is just to learn. It's just to take your training as seriously as possible, log your lifts, know what you're doing each week, and then that rate of perceived exertion can be learned and can be taught over time. Sets shouldn't finish when it gets hard in your head. Sets should start when it gets hard in your head. That's a nice ending.
That's a really good ending.
That is a strong point.
Really good, man.
Thank you.